Hello, everyone. Possibly can. Things have been very intense in the last few days, with a good amount of martial law being enforced right, front, and center. And as we already know, they will have to get worse before they get better. As with all Saturn Pluto conjunctions, we can safely say it's going to take a long time to fully deal with this pandemic as well as its societal consequences and economic implications. Most likely, the entire year of 2020, we need to be mentally prepared. But there's nothing to worry about. We can and we need to absolutely manage ourselves diligently, and our disciplines with determination will successfully help us through. Now, when the sun has entered Aries on April 14th, it squared the Pluto in Capricorn. The time is bound to be filled with conflict and rage as the sun increases our need to be in control, bringing moments of crisis and exposing the deep psychological issues that this pandemic is creating. This aspect also represents that point in time in which many of us will realize that this pandemic will eventually bring us to that very much needed collective rebirth and the great transformation. We are going to, after I have spoken to you all, I would be answering your questions because then I wonder why the video error is coming. Maybe check your internet perhaps. Now, starting with the houses in brief, well, astrology is infinite. Each of the 12 zodiac archetypes pop up in different areas of your life, which is where the astrological houses come to play. But what do the houses mean in astrology? Anyway, if you've ever seen your horoscope make obscure statements about the houses, then you've probably skimmed over it, feeling fairly confused. The astrological houses define the exact areas of your life your horoscope is referring to. For instance, each house represents something completely unique. They determine the different types of people, places, and life circumstances you encounter in this lifetime. Now, there are 12 signs in the zodiac, and there are 12 houses, starting with Aries and ending with Pisces. Each astrological house features a celestial ambience according to the order of the zodiac wheel. Now, if you want to interpret your own chart alongside this guide, all you need is an accurate time, date, and the location of birth. And the time can actually be approximate also, because basically you need to know whether you were born in the morning hours, the afternoon, the evening, or in the middle of the night. So pull up your birth chart or probably get your natal chart made. Now, coming to the first house. First house actually speaks about your personal brand. The first house is the house that governs your physical appearance, the image you portray, and the first impression you make on others. Here, the energy of the zodiac archetypes also describes the way you start something new. This is equivalent to your defense mechanism and relationship with new environments, given that it is a mechanism of the ego and your surface self. Think about it. What's the first sign of the zodiac? Aries. The key phrase is I am, which is precisely what the first house represents. Now, second house speaks about your values. This is the house of money and material possessions. This includes your finances, your personal belongings, and your relationship to the gifts you possess, both physically and spiritually. What are your spending habits like? This area of the chart belongs to Venus ruled Taurus, and its key phrase is I have. Your self worth and self esteem also comes alive in this area of the chart. The third house is your communication style. Now, the third house governs your thinking process, the style of communicating, and cognitive functioning. It also determines the energy of your general exchanges along with your immediate environment. This includes your siblings, cousins, neighbors, and your early education, your early conditioning. Ruled by Mercury, ruled Gemini, ruled by Mercury, ruled Gemini. The third house also influences your voice via writing, speaking, media, or communication arts. So the Gemini's key phrase is I think. Now, the fourth house basically speaks about your inner foundation. The fourth house rules the home within you and the one you grew up in. Governed by the mother moon, this area of the chart can determine your roots, your sense of security, and emotional foundation. This house also revolves around your connection to the past along with your ancestry line. So, this lunarly influence belongs to none other than the sensitive Cancer, and the key phrase of the Cancerian is I feel. The fifth house. The fifth house is the inner child in you, your inner child. The fifth house is the house of playfulness, joy, creativity, pleasure, and romance. This refers to your creative and spontaneous self expression in all forms of play. What were you like a child? What brings you joy? What were your passions? Ruled by the ever glowing sun, Leo is the ruler of the fifth house, and its key phrase is I will. The sixth house is health and routine. Governed by resourceful Virgo, the sixth house rules your day to day life. It also determines your level of mindfulness and problem solving skills. This includes your daily responsibilities, health habits, and your due diligence. The sixth house also governs your domestic pets and your attitude towards the routines, scheduling, and organization, how well disciplined you are or how lazy you are. After all, the Virgo's key phrase is I analyze. The seventh house speaks about partnerships. Now, the seventh house revolves around partnership, marriage, business partnership, domestic partnerships, soulmates, and your attitude towards these unions. It also governs your open enemies, how you can attract jealousies or resentments, compromise, contracts, and mediators, like lawyers, also fall under this house. Now, Venus ruled Libra. So, the seventh house owns this area of your chart, and its key phrase is I balance. Well, the eighth house is the house of transformation. The eighth house is commonly referred to as the house of death in both the literal and figurative sense. For instance, an orgasm is a kind of a miniature death. This house actually governs sexuality and carnal desires. It also revolves around rebirth, crisis and change, addiction, transformation, regeneration, and your attitudes towards these things. It also rules over your relationship to other people's money, the money you may be taking for granted, or the money you may be inheriting, even your partner's money, and the money that you owe to others. That is your debts and your taxes. This area of the chart belongs to Pluto ruled Scorpio, and its key phrase is I desire. So the ninth house is the house of higher learning. The ninth house is the house that rules your higher learning, including your spiritual understanding, expansion of your belief systems, and personal philosophies. Governed by Jupiter ruled Sagittarius, it also revolves around long distance travel, foreign languages, cultures, publishing, and commerce. Adventurous with a sparkling, optimistic personality, Sagittarius, the key phrase is I see. Anything is possible in the area of your chart, which is so typical of Sagittarians. Now, the 10th house is of legacy and reputation. The 10th house governs your career, your achievements in society, the areas of your life where you carve out a name for yourself and make something of your life. It covers fame, material success, and your desire for achievement, your relationship to authority, including your father figures and your government, and your relationship to your success and achievement. Governed by Saturn ruled Capricorn, the key phrase for this house is I use. The 11th house speaks of networks and visions. The 11th house governs your personal goals and the areas of your life that fall under the umbrella of your wishes, your hopes, your true inner purpose, and your sense of community. Governed by Uranus, Aquarians are ruled by Uranus. The 11th house also revolves around your teams, tribes, friendships, groups, and extended network. So the Aquarius's key phrase is I know. Now, the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces, it is also denotes the house of spirituality and self undoing. The 12th house is the house that rules your secrets, the parts of you that are hidden, your subconscious, your actual dreams, and nightmares. It governs your karma, your self undoing, and your soul growth that results from our undoing. Governed by Neptune ruled Pisces, this area of the chart can also determine your hidden strengths and weaknesses, your potentials, your talents, which are hidden. Maybe you're unaware of it, so you need to become aware of it. So the Pisces key phrase is I believe. Now, this was the normal thing about astrology, Western or Vedic astrology, because in Vedic astrology, also the representation is the same. The first house rules the body and physique in the Vedic astrology. The second is of money, job, family. Third is of brother and sister and your adventurous spirit. Fourth is of your mother, home, vehicles, and the property or inheritance. Fifth is of study and child. Sixth is of enemies and diseases. Seventh of husband, wife, friends, partnership. Eighth, your age proximity. Ninth is luck and religion. 10th is your work, father, and your profession. 11th is all the benefits that you can receive. And 12th is expenses, foreign, your talents, and your potentials. So Vedic astrology is also like the Western astrology. It's not much different. Now, somebody asked me about am I talking about the solar or the lunar? I'm plainly talking about the astrology and the houses. Solar and lunar are just two ways of getting your chart. You can do it through the moon placements, or you can do it through your sun placements, the solar or the lunar. But wherever the ascendant comes, that is the time of your birth. From that house onwards starts your first and your second house. Now I'm going to, before I speak and come to some conclusions, I am going to be answering your questions. Let's say somebody's asked me, tell me something about the seventh house. Well, I have just spoken, and I'm sure you must have listened to me about it. And then we have, yes, somebody very nicely said that I am doing all the houses and answering questions in the end, so not to worry. So I'm now looking at the questions after I've finished all the 12 houses. Now, somebody's asked about Saturn and Mars in the 10th house of Navamsha. At this particular moment, my friends, I'm just giving you all the basics of astrology, which will help you know what does the first, second, third, or fourth house say. And then we have um, somebody's asked about Saturn in Libra Ascendant, currently in the fourth house, Capricorn. How can we activate this transit to purchase a home and car? Well, you have to first see that if the transit is hitting the fourth house, then your absolutely is a correct time to buy a car and to buy and probably have your inheritance in tax, because it does talk about property and vehicles. So if the Saturn is hitting your fourth house, this is the correct time for you to go ahead and buy your assets. Then we have another question coming up, which mostly there have been just love and tremendous love, which of course I also reciprocate to you all. And somebody's asked, tell something about 11th house, Aquarius, and Saturn in 12 houses with Moon and Rahu. Well, this is again a further study to it. At this particular moment, you all just need to understand that we spoke about the planets. Now today we are speaking about the houses, and we're just trying to understand that if a particular house, what do they denote, or what do they give us. So, and if a particular planet is in, like somebody had asked, if the Saturn is in fourth house, is it my right time and it is transiting to buy property? Well, of course it is the right time. So this way you can come to know what is it that you can do, and what do these how do they have an effect on your own life. And then somebody's again asked, which should we refer, sun sign or moon sign? I would say you can refer any sign, as long as you have your chart, your natal chart made. It doesn't matter whether you make it from the sun sign or the moon sign, because your first house starts from wherever is your ascendant. See, in our short sessions now, I will not be able to tell you all exactly that, okay, this is your chart, this is what you need to do. This is just basically, I'm trying to increase your knowledge that wherever your ascendant starts your first house. Then what does the first house mean? What does the second house mean? So you don't have to start from Aries, Taurus, and all. Your house starts from where your ascendant is, and then you start taking guideline of the first, second, third, fourth, and so on till your 12th house. It will tell you a lot about yourself. It will tell you how you actually should be working towards in your life. What is it that makes you what is it that makes your whole personality? Then we have questions that say, please tell me about Saturn return for the Libra ascendant. Well, if you have your Libra ascendant, which means, let me just tell you that when we talk about Libra, we talk a lot about, one second. We talk a lot about balancing things in your life. So when the Saturn returns is there in Libra, it means try to balance, try to recalibrate, and try to redetermine your life. If your life has not been to the way you envisaged in the now is the time where you need to see where things went wrong and then rectify them. Saturn returns always tells you, please rectify, please re-strategize, and then probably continue and start thinking of progressing further. Then we've somebody's asked that the 12th house in Western and may be used by Krishnamurti in forecasting application because of the 10th. It's a final third of life is dealing with those issues for good or bad. Welcome your insight. At this particular moment, I am just going to say that the 12th house, like I had spoken to you, is all about, you need to believe in yourself. You need to work on your potentials. Once you are determined that these are my talents and these are my potentials, don't allow the child within you die. In fact, believe in yourself, believe in your actions, and undo the things that are actually not working for you and start doing them correctly. So, actually, the questions that are coming in are more, people are more interested in understanding how astrology can work for themselves. Well, it can only work in one way, my friend, that you need to learn so much about astrology before you start applying it to yourself. So, you'll be happy to note that I have officially launched my School of Astrology program, wherein I would be teaching my way, that is Dolly Manghat's way of astrological learnings. And you could visit my website to apply for the course. The evaluation of the applications are already in process, as the teaching or the classes are starting from 8th of May 2020. So to know the exhaustive study about astrology and how you can apply it to your life, probably enroll for these classes. It will do you a lot of good. Meanwhile, in my next video, since everyone is asking, and I'm seeing the questions also very curious about the Vedic astrology too, I am going to be telling you facts about each planet and the mythological story they carry. I will also briefly apprise you of the planet's basic astrological facts. The only gumption is that I would be able to do it only two planets at a time, because I would be telling you the story about it. It will be fun and interesting. And when you understand the Vedic stories, you also understand the language of planets, how they have assumed their traits, and how they are what they are. So, which comes, the date probably comes 22nd of April, same time. I will be connecting with you all. Remain tuned in by subscribing to my YouTube. I have a plethora of interesting learnings about astrology to tell. Do visit my website to keep yourself updated. Till the 22nd of April, same time, remain safe, disciplined, and blessed. God bless you all.